wants more time to review a proposed permanent injunction for tax refunds. The plaintiffs have made it clear they want the government to pay refunds within 6 months from the time they're filed. Attorney Ignacio Agagay represents Jeffrey and Ria Paeste and Sharon Zapanta and taxpayers who sued the government over late and expedited tax refunds and won their case late last month. The plaintiffs filed a proposed permanent injunction today saying they are entitled to summary judgment as the government violated their constitutional rights to equal protection. Given the government's history of failing to pay refunds in a regular and timely manner, the plaintiffs have asked the court to impose a permanent injunction. Their proposal includes 4 specific terms. The biggest is that the government paid refunds no later than 6 months after a claim for a refund is filed. Other terms include monthly reports with specific details on the number of refunds, the total paid, and the number processed, as well as the immediate suspension and discontinuation of the practice of expediting tax refunds, and an enforcement provision that requires the government to pay interest payments to each taxpayer who is owed a refund on a monthly basis. If the government fails to do so, the plaintiffs will seek the appointment of a receiver. And because of the government's current cash flow situation, Revenue Tax Director John Camacho says the 6-month timeline may not be feasible.
That's why I think we're going to sit down and see at some point in time it may be realistic, but for now I think until we really settle our government operation and our costs and find that money. In order to find that money, we need to really cut down some of the government costs to find that money and reserve that money to put aside and pay tax refunds and other obligations of the government of Guam.
It's a concern that's been raised by Department of Administration Director Benita Manglotnia, who filed a declaration with the court today that was attached to the government's request for an extension. Manglotnia is saying the proposed injunction fails to address Guam's obligations to pay the $30 to $40 million owed for tax returns already filed, not to mention the $105 million projected shortfall for payment of 2012 tax returns. Camacho clarifies that the estimated $40 million figure takes into account ready-to-go A-status returns, error and problem returns, and those with unprocessed returns who have a 3-year window to file. While the administration has convened a fiscal team to formulate a plan on how to begin paying refunds promptly while still meeting the government's financial obligations, officials warn that there just isn't enough money coming in to meet all current year expenditures, unpaid prior year obligations, and unpaid tax refunds. The government of Guam have asked that they be given until October 12th to respond to the proposed injunction and begin negotiations soon after, with a final proposal to be submitted to the court on November 2nd. The plaintiffs, meanwhile, indicate that they want to move the process along at a much faster pace, but are willing to engage in negotiations should the court grant the request for an extension. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Ken Quintanilla.